Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Serial Gaming here, and today we're gonna talk about Selphie with her rework as well as Sherlotta with her new LD. Alright, so starting off, we're gonna start with Selphie. Selphie just has the best rework right now. I'm just gonna put this out front. Her skill 2 doesn't get any rework, but her skill 1 now does more battery when using it. That's about it, but her best rework lies in her LD. Her LD now does a 3 AoE full HP attack based on the party current bravery, so instead of 1 it's going to do 3. But the best part about this is it actually extends her LD debuff to 6 turns on each enemy, and the LD debuff now no longer decrease when taking damage. So this means that if the enemy is not getting any turns, or at least if they are not getting any more than 6 turns, Selphie's debuff will always be active and the enemy will always be launched despite how many attack you throw on them. So this part is where it makes Selphie really good as a very huge meta support in this era. But continue on to her kit first. Her Crystal level 90 also upgrade a little bit on her EX, which now provides more battery and also improve the buff obtainable through her skill 1 and her skill 2, which is called the Garden Festival Community member. It now provides an additional 20% self HP damage up and 20% self granted brave gain up. And her additional ability now extended to 7 turns, which recovers skill, heals the entire party and batteries the party as well, and now provides a 10% party brave gain and overflow up. So essentially not too much rework on her skill 1, skill 2, her EX and her additional ability, but very good rework on her LD. And that rework itself just make her really one of the best meta support even in JP era right now. Considering the fact that she does get her FR board later as well in JP, and that just solidify her way better, even better as a meta support in that current era, because she can work not just as a everyone launcher but as a FR gauge charger as well. So Selphie is just gonna be relevant for a very long time. If you don't have her, I highly recommend to go for her right now. Essentially, she's just gonna make everyone becoming a launcher, and to be honest, launchers actually get benched in my opinion because of her, because what makes them unique initially, now everyone can do it because of her. So if you don't have her, I still highly recommend to just go for her. It's not because I'm a Final Fantasy VIII fan and she's from Final Fantasy VIII. No, I'm not being too biased here. She's just really good. You drop her a Paladin Sasso Spear due to her high armor, and you can gain more battery during launches. So that is what I recommend, of course. If you don't have her and you're not gonna pull for her right now, of course you can still clear content, but she's just make the stage way more easier and way more fun, especially with everyone being able to launch at will. Like Kais, even Kais got benched because of her. Yeah, like I think BC mentioned in his video once that Kais got sent to the abyss when Selphie's LD arrived. So see, it's not just me being biased here, it's everyone actually approved this idea. Selphie is just so good that she actually benched most launchers. Anyway, regarding team synergy, I think Selphie just literally works well with everyone that has target attack. For example, what I mean by target attack is like Ram, for example. Her skill 1 and her skill 2 doesn't has a target attack, which would not initiate any launches. So in that situation, Selphie might not work too well with her. But regardless, it might not be too much of an issue because Ram's skill 1 is instant turn and her skill 2 swaps someone in, and that someone can actually initiate the launch instead. Another instances of unit that actually pairs well with Selphie is Delayers to maximize the launches. Like Quistis is one of her best unit to run her with because of her free turns and free skills when using her skill 2. Another examples are like Cypher, Garland, especially when Garland can delay upon attacking in launches itself. Another examples of unit that goes well with Selphie is actually Turnhoggers, since they can constantly abuse that debuff, for example Tidus, Lightning, or Terra. Another unique way of actually utilizing Selphie's kit is Kane, because Selphie's skill 2 and EX are free turns and can trigger Kane's follow-up. And her skill 1 is also fast turn rate, so all in all, it actually helps Kane to gain more follow-up in that instances. The specific reason I mentioned Kane only because Selphie, like Ram, in her skill 1 and her EX has no targeted attack, so it won't trigger follow-up for some characters, but since Kane relies on action, so yes, it triggers Kane follow-up very well. Selphie is of course bad against not specific unit but stages that is unlaunchable, and of course stages that punish consecutive turns, since she does have a lot of she does perform a lot of turns if you run her in the party, especially with her wall buff and her EX, which recharge every 2 skill. Of course, you can just rely on her LD itself to perform her attack. Her skill 1 and EX, her skill 2 and EX is not exactly a necessity if you want to nuke the boss as fast as possible. Okay, so moving on, we're gonna have Sherlotta with her new LD as well as some rework on her kit. Amazingly, she doesn't have a lot of rework despite the fact that she hasn't been relevant since the late Chaos era. Her skill 1 now add 2 usage, and her skill 2 now has higher brave gain and overflow, but that's about it on her rework. With her new LD, she now gains an overhead buff, which provides 20% party overflow up and brave gain up, 40% party brave damage up, and 5% party attack up. I'm not sure why this 5% is even there, it's not even that relevant. But anyway, she has a very unique mechanism that ties to this overhead buff. The buff itself now has a store value which increases as bravery is received for Sherlotta, and is limited to 2 times of her max bravery cap. And when the value turns into orange color, it means that the bravery store is capped, so you can no longer increase it. Anyway, the overhead buff is actually tied to the attack of her LD and the HP attack after using her LD, which is called Staff Throw, but I will be talking about it in her LD section. Her LD now does a 2 full HP attack, and the first HP attack is based on the value stored on her overhead buff. Using this skill will reset the overhead buff to 0 value again, and it adds 2 usage to her Staff Throw attack. This Staff Throw will be converted from her regular HP attack, and now it becomes a 2 single target HP attack with 50% splash, and the first HP attack is based on the value stored on her overhead buff as well, but using this skill doesn't reset her overhead buff to 0 like her LD does. So her Crystal level 90 also has an upgrade on her EX and additional ability. Her EX now refill 1 usage of her skill 2, and has more battery and extend her EX buff by 2 turns. The refill is kinda nice, I guess. I never really used Sherlotta's skill 2 during her LD and her FRBT debut, but I think I'm not using her too well, I guess, because I focuses on her LD and her HP attack only. But this skill 2 has decent damage. It doesn't get reworked on her amount of HP dumps, but I guess it still has good damage. Anyway, the EX extension also improved her HP plus attack, which is the Hurl Staff Plus. Not that you're using it a lot anyway, because you'll be using her converted HP attack from her LD, but this HP attack now has a 50% splash, and extend the debuff, which is Light of Rejection, by 1 turn. Her additional ability now provides a 10% party brave gain and overflow up, and extended up to 5 turns. So extra buff, I guess, instead of just battering the entire party. So I'm gonna consider Sherlotta to be the first unit to actually break HP damage cap ceiling. I mean, Anacross already does it, but she doesn't do it herself. She kinda cheated with using mecha. So I'm gonna just list Sherlotta as the first one in our era to actually does this. Of course, HP damage cap up actually helps Sherlotta even more by having more bravery stored in her her LD overhead buff. But I believe if you're gonna run both Ramza and Garnet with her, it's a little bit overkill, since she only need 1 to achieve the maximum damage of her LD and HP plus attack. I believe the highest she can go for her first HP attack is 1 million, or I should say 1 damage short of 1 million, since it's actually 999,999. So I think, yeah, like I said, you just need one of them to perform this feat. You can even use HP damage up to increase to that amount of damage, if I recall, if I'm not wrong. But anyway, Sherlotta is actually a really good unit before. The reason why she was still good even in Lufenia era is because her aura of HP damage up is actually pretty decent. But with the fact that there's a lot of new units like Ramza and Garnet that exist right now with a lot of auras to the party, Sherlotta's sort of like getting pushed back a little bit. But her damage right now is actually quite good. But I wouldn't say that she has a lot of utility to justify using her in the party aside from having that very unique damage dealing LD and HP attack. As for team synergy, Sherlotta works really well with battery units to maximize her overhead store value, which is units like Selphie, Crow, or even Steiner. She also gained a lot with Brave Gain Up unit since her kit relies a lot on battery itself. Units such as Quistis, Ram, Pain, or even Porum can go well with her. Since she's a aura bot unit with some damage on her side, I don't think there's any unit she's not good to pair with. It really depends on stages like Selphie, since she does gain a lot of turns with her skill 1 and her EX, so you might want to consider not using her in stages that punish consecutive turns like Selphie. So regarding on my opinion on this banner, Sherlotta actually does quite decent, but she's gonna do a lot more when she get her FR and BT, and I really use her a lot after she get those. So if you really want her right now, it's not really a bad choice to go for her. But if you already have Selphie and you do have some lacking in resources and you want to save some, I think skipping this banner is safe, since going for Sherlotta's BT and FR is really what you want to go for instead of just her LD here. But of course, if you don't have Selphie, then I highly recommend to go for this banner, like go so hard that you can even pity it, because Selphie is just really good and Sherlotta is not bad. If you don't have Selphie, this make the banner really valuable. So I think that's my opinion on this banner. I personally gonna pull for Sherlotta because I already kept my ticket for a while and I want to spend some of it so I can actually exchange my reward in the token as well as the co-op farming. So I will throw some tickets and hopefully I get her within those. If I don't get her, like I said, I will be waiting until her FR and her BT, which is going to be much more relevant when she was released later down the line. Anyway guys, thank you again for watching. So what are your plans on this banner? Are you going to pull for her? Let me know down in the comments below, and consider subscribing to my channel if you enjoy my content and liking the video. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.